All right, thanks everyone for coming. We'll be going over this generative AI with large language models class for the next few weeks, and so this is the kickoff session. We'll just be kind of laying out the foundation and understanding what to expect. Talk a little bit about the technology this week, but mostly it'll just be kind of like a syllabus day. So no expectation that anyone has done anything yet. Just kind of opening up the discussion for the future weeks. So just a little intro on San Diego machine learning. So I'm Ryan Chesler. I have been organizing this group for almost 5 years now, which is kind of crazy to say. Before that, I was going to another meetup group that was going for a couple years, and then it kind of dissolved. And so I was like, well, I like doing this thing every weekend, so started that up again. And then along the way, I picked up Ted because he's been very active. I'm a Kaggle double grandmaster now. I've been doing data science competitions for a long time. I work for this company called H2O, and we do auto machine learning stuff, and now we're doing a lot of LLM stuff. This past few days, I pitched a new kind of LLM product to our team, and I'm really looking forward to the future of LLM. So lots of cool stuff going on with that, and I've been kind of shoved right into the heart of it now. So I'm happy with how that's gone. Ted, do you want to give a little intro?
Yeah, so I guess I've been co-leading San Diego Machine Learning for 3 years, and I work for a company that does healthcare, and so my background is sort of a mix of computer science, healthcare, and data science, and just really enjoy like being with the community. And so these meetups, it's great to meet people, enjoy teaching, enjoy like helping people, and enjoy learning from other people, because I find that other people's perspectives, other people's questions, they always help me have like a broader understanding of things. So that's why I just keep coming back.
Great, thanks, Ted. So we have the GitHub that has a lot of our written material, links to a lot of our YouTube videos and stuff like that. So plenty of interesting stuff going on over there. If you want kind of the archive of all of the different stuff that we've covered in the past, that's a good place to start. We also have the YouTube channel. I've uploaded a good chunk of our stuff. I still have kind of a backlog of stuff that needs to be filled in there. But also, if you want to see previous recordings of the stuff that we've seen, that's somewhere to go. And then I assume that all of you are in the Slack already, because you have to be in order to get into this call unless you got the password from someone else. So we have the Slack here. I think that will be useful going forward in the next few weeks if you're doing the course. If you ever have a question or anything, I'm around pretty much all the time. I can answer questions, help people along. It would be great if other people can also chip in and have discussion there. So if you have anything that you come across and you go, I'm not really sure about this, if you're trying to go deeper and understand something more, it would be great if people discuss that. In the past, we've done like separate channel for everything that we do. My thought on this one is everyone can just throw stuff in a general channel, because we've been kind of expanding, and then everyone doesn't know which channel to put things in. And it's not so active that general is going to get flooded. So I would say if you have any questions, just put it in general and we can have that interaction there. And that'll be kind of our central place that everyone can have discussion. So one little call to action here. We have started doing small little groups on weekends, hanging out at coffee shops and doing study sessions. So we would like somewhere that is kind of COVID friendly, has outdoor seating, and can possibly have food and coffee and drinks and stuff like that. And then also has Wi-Fi. So if anyone has anywhere that they recommend for that stuff, it would be nice if we could kind of start organizing little in-person groups as well, because Zoom is great, but you don't get quite as much socialization, and it's just nice to kind of meet and have a meal with people. So if anyone has any recommendations for venue, if anyone has any events that they would like to see as well, we're also open to that. This is supposed to be a community thing. It's not just the Ryan and Ted show. So if you have anything that you're really interested in and you would like to be a speaker, if you would like to see a certain course covered, we're open to all of that. We can help facilitate that and do whatever needs to be done in order to make that successful. So very, very supportive of any other initiatives that people want to do. So for this one, we will be doing the Coursera DeepLearning.AI course on generative AI with LLMs. So this is a free course. You can go in there and it'll try to shake you down for $49, but you can just say, I just want to audit it, and you can watch it for free. But that does exclude the quizzes and the labs. So if you want to kind of measure your knowledge on the quizzes, and if you want to also see some code and actually run it and get a little bit more hands-on, you'll have to pay $49. And so part of the value of that is the learning, and then another part of the value is actually you can earn a certificate at the end. So if you go through the whole course, you can get a nice certificate that will go on your LinkedIn, and then you can say, hey, I'm knowledgeable about generative AI with large language models, and some people like that. When I was first starting, I actually did a bunch of Coursera courses, and that was kind of how I built out my resume, because I didn't go to school for this stuff. I just kind of learned online through all of this. So if you're someone like me, self-learning, or if you're someone from school, both of them are valuable. It shows that you take the initiative and learn new things, and you are at least beginner intermediate at some of this stuff. So if it's valuable to you, I would say, yeah, go ahead and pay the $49 and get your certificate. So the format that we expect to have will be one module a week. I think that this should be doable. We looked at it, and the videos are roughly 2 to 3 hours per week. So that would be the same as taking a course in college. Probably you might have 1 or 2 sessions of an hour, hour and a half, and it should be manageable if you set aside the time. So it will be a commitment, but it's not going to be a massive one, hopefully. So ideally, the like low bar is like, please try to watch the videos if you can. In the past, sometimes we've done stuff where I'll get up on the podium and I'll just teach the class, and I'll walk through all of the different techniques and stuff. And this one, my intention is more like maybe I give a paragraph to every different video, and then we can go in and dig deeper on each of the concepts. So if there's something that you didn't understand, if you went and you looked at the paper that they referred to, and you had something that you weren't sure about, you wanted to understand an equation better, or if you didn't quite understand how something was phrased or why they did something, we can dig deeper into that. So ideally, people come in knowing a little bit from what they watched in the videos, and then any questions, clarifications we can make as a group, and we can learn together on that stuff. But it's not going to necessarily be a course where I teach you all of these concepts, because the course already exists. So it's better to just get it straight from the horse's mouth. Yeah, I think that's generally it on the format. Hopefully we can look at some of the papers. Hopefully we can play with some of the code. We can dig into the labs maybe. But that's generally what this will look like. Hopefully people watch the videos on their own, and then we can have discussion and dig deeper as a group. So one of the questions might be like, why are we picking this course specifically? Everyone is like, LLMs are just blowing up, and all of the generative AI stuff, making images, outputting text, all of this stuff. It's extremely popular, and it's eating a lot of AI. So a lot of people who used to be working on certain application-specific things are finding that these Gen AI models are so powerful that it can just do exactly what they want. You don't even have to train specialized models anymore. And they're so flexible that it's just kind of incredible the number of different things that they can do in a single mega model. And they're also extremely powerful in terms of their sample efficiency. So in the past, you might have needed to label 1,000 samples to get decent performance. And these, you might get good performance out of 0 samples. You don't even have to show it any new data. You just ask it the right question and it will do what you want of it, which is pretty incredible. But even beyond that, if you show it 5 examples, 10 examples, you can get a whole ton of value out of it. So this Gen AI stuff is really seems to be the future. It's just extremely powerful what can be done with it. And so it also has a ton of knowledge just baked into it. So if you ask it a question about a MacBook from 3 years ago, it will know about it already. You don't have to instill that knowledge into it, which I think is pretty cool. And I've linked to various demos here, and we can kind of walk through that, and it's just kind of examples of the cool stuff that you can do with this Gen AI stuff. So I bet a lot of you have actually played with this before. So this is Chat OpenAI. So this is Chat GPT. So I could tell it to like can ask it to write me a syllabus, and then all of a sudden it will tell me, here's your coursework for learning about generative AI. So you don't need me, you don't need the course, you just talk to ChatGPT and it'll teach you everything. So my job is done. So it writes this whole thing for you, and it tells you all of the details. It tells you the concepts that you want to cover. And so if you look at this doesn't really cover LLMs very much. So I can just say like, and so now it'll rewrite it, and it's like, okay, here's a new course layout with focus on LLMs. And so it can do very flexible, powerful things like this. And it'll write a big essay for you saying like, here's the stuff you need to learn. And it knows this from soaking up a lot of the knowledge off of the internet and understanding what LLMs are and what different things people are studying and discussing with them. It's kind of interesting. It's made up a book here. Language Models: An Introduction by John Doe and Transformers in NLP by Jane Smith. I don't think that those people and books actually exist, but you can understand it gives you a good overview of that kind of stuff. So this is kind of the inception point. A lot of people have really gone in on ChatGPT and said like, wow, this is an amazing moment where this model can do all kinds of cool stuff. And now everyone else has said, let's chase OpenAI and let's try to build something similar for ourselves, because this is a closed source tool that only OpenAI owns. And so everyone has kind of gone, wow, this can solve so many problems. Let's try and recreate that. And so another one that has gotten a lot of people into this stuff is Stable Diffusion. So Stable Diffusion is this text to image model. So instead of me saying, ask it a question and then it gives me a text response back, this is ask it to draw something for me, basically, and then it will make a beautiful picture given the description that I gave it. And so a lot of people have really gotten into this Stable Diffusion thing. So like, it takes a little bit to run. So I ran this beforehand. I just said like, give me a design to put on my slides, and then it made this image for me. So this is what it thinks of generative AI. That's what it wants to draw. And then another cool one that has popped up is Chat PDF. So this is a web app where you can plug in your documents and then you can ask questions of your document and stuff like that. So I uploaded this PDF that I had. It's a paper that we discussed in a previous week. And it can answer questions for you. So you say like various different things, and then it will find the page that occurred on, and then give you kind of a response summarizing exactly the question that you asked. So Chat PDF is this cool tool where you can kind of more quickly pull information out of PDFs, and it's using these powerful LLMs in the background in order to do this. And so that Chat GPT stuff is extremely powerful, but like I said, it's closed source, so you can't really interact with it. You can't deploy it on your own hardware. You can't pass it private data because then it's going to their servers. So what a lot of people have been doing is trying to train their own models to recreate that. And recently, Meta has kind of blessed us with this Llama 2 model that's extremely powerful and competes with it. So at my company, we've been doing a lot of evaluation of all of these different companies are spinning up these models, trying to get something that's equivalent to ChatGPT or even better than it. And so we've evaluated a bunch of these models, and we've actually found that the Llama 2 open source model that has been recently released is actually beating that ChatGPT model that we were just looking at. Which is kind of incredible because we can just freely download this and run this on our own server. You don't even need the fanciest GPU possible, and you can start interacting with these models, which is pretty incredible. So this Llama 2 model is freely available. Everyone can download it and play with it and do whatever they want with it, and use it privately. So pretty incredible place that we're at, where this Llama 2 model has popped up less than a year after the ChatGPT model, and this was kind of the inflection point going, wow, these models are amazing, these can do everything. And OpenAI becomes a $1 trillion company, and then a few months later Meta just goes, yeah, this is free, everyone can play with this. So we're at a very interesting point. So it's very cool that we have this model to interact with, and we'll be looking at ways to kind of use this and tune this and make it powerful for whatever use case you might have. So we're pretty blessed to be at this point where we have this amazing model to interact with. So yeah, those are the applications that I have set aside. I don't know if anyone has any cool AI tools that they've been playing with. Feel free to drop them in the chat, because I'm always interested in hearing about what people are using and how people are interacting with AI. So happy to see any links in the chat if anyone has something that they think that we should all check out. So that's all I have for today. Actually, we can do questions first off, and then after that we can probably do breakout rooms. There's a question about LangChain. LangChain has been super interesting. That's one of the open source tools that it's kind of the framework, the glue between all of the different parts. So if you have a PDF and you want to pass that PDF to ChatGPT and stuff like that, it's very useful for kind of putting that together in a standard way. People at my company have been using LangChain quite a lot. So I'm interested to see what happens with LangChain, because I don't entirely see how they make money, and they're trying to become a company that makes money. And right now they're just kind of, it's like Scikit-learn or something like that, where it's just kind of a free tool that everyone gets to play with. So LangChain, very powerful. I can second that one. That's a fun one to play with. IBM Watson X. I'm not familiar with that one. Bard is very cool. Bard is Google's equivalent. I like Bard. I just saw a text-to-speech and voice cloning model that got open sourced yesterday. I don't know how to say it. It's like COQUI, but it's this cool model where you give it 3 seconds of your voice, and then you can give it text, and then it will recreate your voice saying whatever you typed in. So that's quite powerful. Maybe in evil use way as well, but it's also pretty cool to be able to do text to speech of pretty much anyone's voice. Question about how we evaluate. So I haven't personally been that involved in this, but my understanding is that we have basically a whole set of prompts. So yeah, we have 60 different prompts, and we've categorized the different things that they're testing for. And then we do this sort of ELO game saying model A said this was the output, model B said this was the output. And we've actually automated this to then be judged by another final model. So our final model, I believe it's GPT-4, but I'm not sure. We'll actually look at these side by side and say, which do you prefer? And then that's what is deciding the winners. So that's actually what a lot of people have been doing, and it's kind of up in the air if that's actually a reasonable thing to do, but it seems like the models are pretty good at evaluating the quality of a response. It's harder to generate new text than it is to say this is good or this is bad. And so a lot of people have been using these models as kind of automation, because we could sit here and say, oh, I like this response better, this response is correct and that response is wrong. But it's easier to have that kind of automated by an additional language model in between. So that's my understanding of our evaluation, but there's plenty of other leaderboards out there. I was just showing that one because that's something I was aware of. Hugging Face also has a good leaderboard that's evaluating across a bunch of different tasks. What's the requisites for this course? Knowledge of machine learning, Python, R. I would say I think you can actually get away with not even knowing Python, but Python would definitely help you. So there's going to be labs that do code that you'll get more value out of if you know Python. But I think that in general, all of the lectures will just be the concept. So you can still learn the concepts and not understand the coding underneath, but you'll get the most value if you can understand the Python and follow along with the labs as well. Knowledge of machine learning, I think it would be valuable if you had deep learning experience, if you've used PyTorch or TensorFlow before. But I'm not sure. I think that you could probably, yeah.
I can jump in on that one.
Yeah.
So I would just say the lectures, the level that it's set is fairly low. So someone who's technical, who actually has no machine learning knowledge, probably can get by. So if you know any ML, then like you'll be fine. They could have set the levels different, and this is more closer to beginner. It's not that close to intermediate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I wasn't sure if I was confident enough to tell someone that they could learn it without the background, but I do think that it's probably approachable. So question about the slides. Yeah, so all of this will be available later. We'll post this on YouTube, and the slides will be available. I can post them in the chat or in the Slack right now. Yeah, we'll be doing that. And yes, you have to pay in order to see the code, I believe. That's correct, Ted?
Yeah, and also just to be clear, you mentioned that like Coursera, it's like $49, whatever. It's $49 a month. So if it actually takes you 2 months to finish the course, like we're planning to finish in the next 3 weeks. But if you are doing it on your own and you take longer, that it is a monthly thing until you discontinue.
I was confused by this because I actually clicked on this before. It makes it sound like you're just purchasing the course outright based on this screen, because I was familiar with that, where it was like I was trying to finish stuff quickly because I wanted to get as much out of my month as possible. But this
Yeah.
one makes it sound like you're just straight up purchasing the course. So we might have
Okay.
to look into that. But yeah, I think you might just purchase that outright.
So I didn't actually purchase just this course. So I'm assuming you're right, Ryan. I think maybe there is the single course way you can do it, and then there's the subscription
Yeah.
way that you can do it. And so I think maybe
Yeah.
I got confused.
That might be in the fine print of that, though, is you're purchasing it for the month and then you have to pay. I'm not sure. I haven't clicked through it yet, but I did see that it makes it sound like you're just buying it outright, but I'm not sure.
But just to reiterate, in case anybody joined late, so Ryan showed you, they're going to try to convince you, but you can audit the course without paying anything, which means you get to watch all the videos, get all of that content, and then if you have any questions, the DeepLearning.AI has their chat, whatever platform discussion thing, but also we're doing it so you can actually come here on Saturday and say, hey, I had a question about that third video and whatever. So that is a perfectly viable option for people, especially with the support of this SDML community. But yes, if you want the full course, it is under a paid model.
Can we use the Slack channel to ask questions during the week?
Yes. Yes. And just feel free to, instead of us having a million channels, just go ahead and use the general channel. If somehow there's a lot of messages, then we'll create a channel for it. But typically, you know, the Slack's not that high volume, so it's fine.
There's a question about, has anyone tried running local LLMs? I have been doing that a whole bunch. So I've been developing an app built around Llama and stuff with that. So I've actually played with Llama 2 a whole bunch in different flavors. I've played with the 7 billion and the 13 billion and I believe it's 30 billion. I don't remember the exact number. I haven't tried the 70 billion yet because I just don't have 300 gigabytes of extra space. But yeah, it's very powerful. I've been very impressed with it. It's fun to use. So there's a question about running it locally and what resources you need. I have been able to run it the 70 billion on like 4 or 5 or 6 gigabytes of video memory. So if you have any reasonably modern NVIDIA card, you should be able to run it. You just might have to run it in 4-bit mode or 8-bit mode or something like that. When you run it in reduced precision, you can fit a whole lot in there, actually. So I would say that the 70 billion, pretty much everyone with the graphics card should be able to run.
Sorry, Ryan. I think you made a slip of the tongue. You meant 7 billion, the smallest one. Yeah. Later on in the course, we'll talk about you can take some of your own proprietary data, you can fine tune. And I think you probably need a top end consumer. You probably need 24 gigs of video RAM to fine tune the 7 billion model. I don't think you can do 13. It's really close. I don't think you can do the 13 billion model on a single GPU, but 2 should do it. So that's to give you a sense for like the memory requirements.
I've recently been able to, in my app right now, I'm able to do, it's kind of incredible that you can do this, but I have my OCR model loaded in the GPU and I have Llama 7B loaded in at 4-bit, and I'm able to train that on 4096 context length, and it uses less than 12 gigs. So you can actually do like insane amounts of stuff in the 4-bit mode. So that's been my experience, at least, is I've been able to fit much more in than I thought would have been possible when you start doing the reduced precision stuff and gradient checkpoint. And we'll discuss all this stuff throughout the weeks, I hope. I haven't gone through everything, but we'll learn some magic tricks throughout the course. And if it's not covered in the course, I can show it to make it usable for everyone. Because I've actually found like pretty interesting ways to get it manageable on much smaller hardware.
Yeah, and there's some more questions in the chat. So usually the bottleneck is not your main memory on your computer, but it's really the video RAM on your GPU. So I'm not currently using a Mac. I don't know if things have caught up for the M1, the M2 yet, in terms of just like CUDA drivers and stuff like that. 4080, what is that? Is that 16 gig, 12 gig of video RAM? So for what Ryan's talking about, it sounds like you can definitely run inference for sure, but training, you will need to throw a lot of tricks at it, you know, lower precision, use things we'll talk about, LoRa, QLoRa, whatever. And I think you might be able to do 7 billion. I don't think you will be able to train the 13 billion on a 4080. 2070, I think, is 6 gigs. So now it's going to be really tight, but maybe the smallest small version of the 7B. And some of these, if you can't do on your laptop, you might just be able to do Colab, because at least there you can get a moderate sized GPU, even free Colab.
Yeah. So you just that's one of the things I if you guys want to run it on your local hardware, that shouldn't be too hard, and we can probably help you along and get that working on most people's stuff. But if it doesn't work, you can also go to Colab, or you can go to, along with this course, they're doing some stuff with AWS Labs that you can run it there. So if you want to run it there, that's perfectly fine too. You shouldn't have to pay, you don't have to buy a new GPU just for this course. You'll be able to run stuff on their environment as well.
Sorry, that's a good point. So the intent is that they give you all the resources, but I was maybe leaping ahead and saying, if you want to go beyond the course and now you want to download, you want to play with some things locally or whatever, then, you know, different kinds of resources. I can tell you that at least the vanilla versions that they have in the course, one of the bumps that I ran into is that it was defaulting me to a medium-sized computer, and it would not run. I had to actually switch it to the 32 gig GPU in order to get the week 2 and week 3 labs to run. So, which is not to say, Ryan, that there aren't extra tricks that you can throw in, but the version that's in the labs aren't throwing every bell and whistle at it, and they really did need the larger VRAM.
Gotcha.
Is the hardware requirement same if I'm trying to fine tune the model, or do I need something more?
So inference is much smaller requirements because you just need to fit the model. When you're doing fine tuning, then not only do you need the model, but you're also going to need the gradients, and you're going to need any memory that your optimizer, like Atom, needs. So when people do things typically, actually, the gradients and optimizers will quadruple the amount of memory you need. But that's why there's these other tricks. And so it's in week 3, this course, we will specifically discuss parameter efficient fine tuning, which lowers your memory requirements. And then not every trick in the book is covered in the course. And so I think Ryan can probably, when we get there, speak to some of the other things that you can do in addition to that.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so I have been playing with all of these techniques in the past few weeks, and my expectations have been completely changed in terms of what you actually need to run these. So if you use the right tricks, you can actually fit in way more than I thought would have been possible. So we'll run into it and we'll see it in the notebooks in the future. But if we have to, I can probably show some tricks to make the footprint smaller. It might make it a little bit slower, but you'll be able to fit more than you expect.
Yeah. And at a slight performance hit if you're using like 4-bit instead of 16-bit or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, these are great questions. And I hope that in addition to the course, people do play around with stuff on their own. That'd be great to hear, like things that people were able to mess around with and get working.
Seems like questions have slowed down. So if anyone has more questions, feel free to put them in the Slack, or you can keep typing them here. I'll be around. But now what we can try to do is some breakout rooms. And so I'll give a little template just as conversation starter. You can actually talk about whatever you want in there. But we'll try to do some breakout rooms. And so my kind of template for you guys to go around the room and just meet the other people who are trying to take this course. So you can start by just kind of introducing yourself. Tell us your name, where you're from, what your level of experience is. You can just say like, I'm a programmer, I'm a data scientist, I'm working at this company. Just tell a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, whatever you want to say there. And then how do you use AI today? So what tools are you using, if any? Are you using Copilot? Are you using spell checkers? Are you using, there's tons of stuff that we almost don't even consider AI anymore. So just talk a little bit about what you might use through your day-to-day life, and then as sort of a conversation starter, what would you like to see in the future of AI? We have these cool tools. What do you want to see in the future? And then you can have a discussion with everyone about that. Question about the expectation for next session, guessing same time next week. So yeah, we'll be meeting same time next week. It should be about an hour and a half. We'll cover the topics, and it's always kind of new. It just depends on if people come with questions, if we have a lot of stuff to discuss about. I think that we'll probably have a lot of these same questions about setting up environment and trying stuff out locally, and totally open to whatever people want. If we have the time and someone wants to get help setting up their environment and they can't get some code to work and they're running into an error, totally fair game. If people want to do that and we don't have anything else to discuss, it's whatever the group leads us to. So open,
Yep.
Fresh slate.
And then just, I think yesterday I created the meetup events for the next 3 weeks. So if you go to meetup, you will see the, whatever it is, September 23rd, 30th, October 7th, those 3 events are all already created. And the plan right now, unless we run into some problems, so fingers crossed, we'll use the same Zoom password each week. So if it doesn't work, go to the Slack, but you don't have to actually like look if all goes well.
Question about if we'll have enough time to cover the course in 3 weeks. I think it's doable. I mean, everyone comes from different levels of experience, and it might take different people different amounts of time. But if you look at the actual like hours of the video, that's something that should be doable to watch in 3 weeks. It's probably 6 hours total of video. That seems pretty doable across 3 weeks.
All right, cool. So then, Ryan, I think we can end the recording here. Anybody who missed today, they'll be able to see a lot of the questions that they probably have got answered. And then, yeah,
I
was
have
there
a
one?
suggestion. I hope it won't be demotivating, but the thing is that Coursera courses are repeating. So you can do the first dry run following Ted and Ryan. You will lose, of course, because when you work with them, at the same time, then they know very well and remember very well what is the lab settings and can reply very quickly to your questions. If it will be gone, and you're gonna work next month, then you will lose it. You may still ask, but they may not be, they may not remember well what it is, what was that last month. Anyway, it is a possibility to make the first dry run without registering and to go to deep dive next month.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to, I think what you're saying is if people want to audit the course at first and then see if they really want to pay for it, and then, you can pay and then do the labs and get the certificate, that's also a viable option.
Yes.
Yep. All right, great. Thanks, Maya.